Hello, and welcome to the Animal Kingdom Science. For this educational video, we are going to go over the heart. Our main focus for this video are the structures of the heart, how contractions work, blood flow, repolarization, depolarization, refractory period, ECG, preload, afterload, and cardiac output, as well as some common diseases of the heart.
That being said, let's get right into this video. In this episode, you will have a great understanding of the inside and outside of the heart, as well as understanding some heart diseases in a small animal. So, where is the heart located in an animal? It is located in the chest cavity, slightly to the left of their body. Where can you feel pulses? Preferably, you can feel pulses in the femoral artery, which is located in the back leg of each animal. You can also feel their heartbeat through cupping their chest. It is less accurate, and I do advise using a stethoscope to hear the heartbeat and get an accurate heart rate. Now, please pause the video and read the question below and come right back to hear the answer. Okay, so you can calculate an animal's pulse rate by feeling the femoral pulse in the back leg and counting for approximately 15 seconds. Once you get that answer, you multiply it by 4. If you don't have that much time, for example, you have a fractious animal, you can count for 10 seconds and times it by 6. Bonus, if you can get this answer right, then you are up to date on the heart already. Joking. But can you tell me the difference between pulse rate and heart rate and how they're different? If you don't know the answer to this question, you can always look it up. Don't be afraid. Okay, moving on. The heart is made up of cells called cardiac myocytes. The SA node and AV node are made up of specialized cardiac myocytes. And if you didn't know, the heart is made up of muscle cells. So cardiac myocytes are muscle cells. So, the other structures of the heart are the AV node and SA node, Purkinje fibers, ventricles, atrium, mitral valve, tricuspid valve, pulmonary valve, aortic valve, pulmonary artery, bundle of His, pulmonary vein, vena cava, and coronary arteries. There are 4 chambers of the heart. Those are the right atrium, the left ventricle, and the right ventricle. Now, I know there's a lot on the screen right now, but we're going to go over the structures of the heart. We're going to start with the electrical signal of the heart, which is the SA node and the AV node. And then we're going to go down to the Purkinje fibers. From there, we're going to talk about the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, the right atrium, the tricuspid valve, the right ventricle. Then the blood goes to the pulmonary valve, through the pulmonary arteries, back from the lungs, through the pulmonary veins, into the left atrium, down through the mitral valve, into the left ventricle, through the aortic valve, into the aorta, and the blood from the aorta is dispensed to the rest of the body to then drop off oxygen and nutrients to our cells before it makes its way right back to our heart through the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. The coronary arteries are the arteries that surround the heart. It basically gives a blood supply to the heart muscles. The bundle of His branches from the AV node into the Purkinje fibers. It is in charge of the critical electrical conduction system. It acts as a pathway that transmits an electrical signal from the SA node to the AV node, down through the bundle of His into the Purkinje fibers to signal the ventricles to squeeze. Now let's crack down on contractions. And when I'm talking about contractions, I am talking about the electrical signal that is in charge of making sure that the heart beats on time. The SA node, which is the primary pacemaker of the heart, it initiates the signal, causing both the atrium chambers to contract, pushing deoxygenated and oxygenated blood out and open the mitral valve and tricuspid valve to allow the blood to flow into the ventricles. The signal from the SA node travels to the AV node. Once at the AV node, the signal slows down and kind of does like a little pit stop to let the atriums relax and valves close. The signal then goes down the bundle of His into the Purkinje fibers, causing the ventricle chambers to contract, pushing both deoxygenated and oxygenated blood out through both the pulmonary valve and aortic valve into the pulmonary artery and aortic artery, where the blood travels to the lungs and or the body. Okay, well, now that that's over, can you pause this video and read the question below? So, what are the electrical mechanisms of the heart that make sure it pumps properly? A small group of cardiac myocytes called SA and AV node, also known as the pacemaker cells, whose sole purpose is to signal the heart to contract through action potential. The three ions in charge of this action potential are potassium, calcium, and sodium. These ions move back and forth through a sodium-potassium pump in each cell to create a negative and or positive charge in the cell. This action of the cell's charge changing from positive to negative is also called repolarization and depolarization. And to answer the second part of question number 1, can you explain repolarization and depolarization? Repolarization and depolarization are the two things that are in charge of the electrical activity of the cell in the heart. Using various pumps across the cell membrane, potassium moves into the cell membrane and sodium and calcium move out of it, causing the inside of the cell to become more negative and the charge outside of the cell to become more positive. This causes the heart muscles to relax. This action of the heart relaxing is called repolarization. When the heart is building up to contract, calcium and sodium are actively moving into the cell. This causes the cell to become positively charged, while potassium is moving to the outside of the cell. It causes the outside of the cell to become negatively charged. This is called depolarization. Just a sidebar, this electrical activity is only happening in the specialized cardiac myocytes. Now we're going to move on to blood flow. We're going to talk about where it starts all the way down to where it ends. We're going to start with the superior and inferior vena cava. The blood then goes down into the upper right atrium through the tricuspid valve into the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, it goes through the pulmonary valve into the left and right pulmonary arteries. The blood goes into the lungs, capillaries, to drop off CO2, etc., and pick up oxygen. From the lungs, it comes back through the pulmonary veins and travels into the left atrium through the mitral valve and into the left ventricle. From the left ventricle, it travels through the aortic valve into the aorta to the rest of the body. Now here's question number 2. Pause the video and read it below. Okay, can you explain how blood flows through the heart, valves, veins, and arteries even without the full diagram of the heart? Shown is a sample diagram of how blood flows through the heart. Applying everything we learned so far, this is a PQRST complex, also known as a QRS complex. This wave is only seen on an ECG. One wave represents one contraction and relaxation period. Reaching our first bump in the wave, it is called the P wave. It represents the SA node activation, also known as the atrial depolarization. The signal then travels down to the AV node, causing the ventricles to contract, which is represented by the QRS wave. While this is happening, the specialized myocyte cells fills up with enough sodium and calcium until it reaches its full action potential. Once its full action potential is reached, repolarization sets in and the cell membrane kicks out sodium and calcium and brings in potassium. After a successful repolarization and depolarization, there is a time when it is theoretically impossible to generate a second wave, giving the cells time to relax and reset before they can respond to new stimulus. This phase is called the refractory period. Going back to the beginning, the space between the P wave and the QRS complex is called the PR interval. This is the time the SA node signals down the AV node, allowing the blood to fill up in the ventricles and the atriums to repolarize. The QRS complex represents the ventricle contraction, also known as ventricle depolarization. The space between the QRS and the T wave is called the ST segment. This is when the ventricles repolarize or relax. The QT interval represents how long it takes the ventricles to contract, depolarize, and relax, repolarize. The repolarization begins immediately after the QRS is done and persists until the end of the T wave. And finally, the space between the T and P wave is the time the ventricles are relaxing and then filling up again. Now I'm just going to go over what preload, afterload, stroke volume, and cardiac output mean. Starting with preload, it represents the amount of blood that fills the heart ventricles from the atriums. Moving on, the afterload. This represents the pressure/resistance the arteries in the body endures when the heart is pushing the blood out. And stroke volume. It represents the amount of blood ejected by the left ventricles with each beat. And lastly, the cardiac output. This represents the amount of blood the heart is capable of pumping per minute. This can be calculated with the equation stroke volume times heart rate. Now we are going to differentiate between each blood vessel. Starting with the arteries, it has the thickest walls out of all three, allowing it to withstand the high pressure created by the heart. Moving on, we have capillary. It has the thinnest walls to allow the substances such as oxygen and sugar to pass through its walls and to and out of our blood. Lastly, we have vein. It is less muscular and stretchy than an artery, so blood moves through it with low pressure. It also has special valves that help blood go only one way. Arteries carry blood away from the heart, while capillaries assist in the exchange of substances between the blood and the tissues, and veins carry blood back towards the heart. Just another tip besides the one that I had listed below. When you think of blood pressure, think of arteries, and when you think of tissue perfusion, think of veins and capillaries. Other things that can affect blood pressure and tissue perfusion are blood pressure, heart rate, cardiac output, and blood flow. Okay, now we're at the last slide in this video. I want to thank you so much for sticking through all the way to the end. We're about to go over the common diseases. I did want to let you know that I will be going through all of these diseases in another video. I didn't want to put it in this video because I felt as if it would make it way too long. Anyways, we have congestive heart failure, dilated cardiomyopathy, myocardial disease, valvular insufficiency, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, arrhythmias, atrial fibrillation, atrial flutter, ventricular fibrillation, ventricular premature contractions, sinus tachyarrhythmia, sinus bradycardia, asystole, congenital defects, vascular disease, which can cause hypertension, and finally, heartworm. With that being said, if you notice there is anything wrong with this video, please let me know in the comments down below, because I want to keep this video as educationally accurate as possible. I will be posting educational videos to this channel every 2 weeks, so please hit that like button, subscribe, and that notification bell so you can be all caught up with every educational video and not miss out on any. If you would like to see any future educational videos that I don't have on this channel, please let me know in the comments down below. Anyways, bye!